Welcome to Case by Case.
We got that fire.
Yeah, I'm on a mission, mind in position. No witness, just a puzzle and a premonition. Facts hit the pavement, no hesitation. Reading between the lines, the investigation.
Case by case, got that fire. Fire. Case by case, got that fire.
Oh, yeah.
Case by case, got that fire.
That's right, yeah. Zooming on the details, got the magnifier. Digging through the dark, taking it higher. No room for doubt, no place to retire. Burning through the evidence, a digital pyre.
Case by case, got that fire.
Get it?
Case by case, got that fire.
Yeah.
Case by case, got that fire.
That's the one. A search engine's a weapon, a network's my stage. Flipping through the data, turning a new page. They leave digital footprints, a trail on the wire. Chasing down the truth, yeah, that's my desire. From the deep web's core to the public display, uncovering the secrets, putting them on full array. It's a digital trail, a modern day chase for the truth and the facts in this digital space. Yeah, like and subscribe. Another one down. Over and out.
Case by case, got that fire.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Case by Case. This is our first live stream episode of a long-running missing person case of Zackary Bernhardt. And today we are going to go through step-by-step the actual 911 call, the disappearance, the possible abduction of this child that was 8 years old, and we are now almost 28 years later, and we have no answers. Let me bring on a good friend. Let me see how it's going to go. Hello, Trinity.
Hello.
How are you?
I think I put my regular name in there instead of Trinity.
That's okay. So Trinity, aka Terry. Terry has been working with me behind the scenes on a lot of the information, website, cases, all of the things above and beyond that we've been doing. And she's working really hard on compiling a whole lot of information on missing persons cases with adolescents. So let me welcome Terry.
Hello. Do you want me to tell about myself? Are you reading?
Sure. No, you can tell everybody about yourself. Go ahead.
Okay, so I am, oh man, I could never do this well. So I have a law degree, but I am not a practicing attorney. I actually do websites for lawyers and law firms. And I also have a background in technology. So I sort of merged the two, and that's where I come into helping here. I saw the need for the website and offered, and I'm reading a chat. Hi, Heidi, and hi, everyone. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to talk about this case. I think you're gonna like what we have to share, and hopefully at the end you'll be able to provide some information that can help.
So, as most of you know, especially when we are discussing sex trafficking, I'm just going to put it out there, child abuse, missing persons cases, there is a lot to dig into. This case falls in the gray area of all of the above. That's the only way that I can explain it. We have over there's a lot of speculation on what happened to Zachary, as far as, was this a parent who interjected and put him on this path? Was it what do you call it? A non-known subject who came into the home and took the child and then subjected him to child trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know. We're going to put forth all of the information that we have today, and hopefully somebody out there, even though there's been tons of podcasts, tons of YouTube channels that have covered this case, we cannot look away from the fact that Zachary Bernhardt is still probably alive. We are not looking for a missing child that was unalived shortly after he was abducted. Terry?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about him. Zachary was 8 years old. He was living with his mom. His mother put him to bed in her bed, is what she says. And then about 4 something in the morning, now he's supposed to be in her bed asleep. Do you have that presentation?
I have several presentations, but
That
we can.
the one that I created, just to give them a face to look at while I'm talking about
There we
it.
go.
There you go. Okay. So it was Clearwater, Florida, and he was asleep in his mother's bed. And this is where it gets a little bit crazy, because he was at Savannah Trace Apartments with his mom, and he disappeared while she was gone for a walk or swimming. Now, it's really brought about a lot of questioning from people, because she said she was going for a walk. She didn't put on a swimsuit. She just went, she said, for a swim. And she said she swam one lap and then she came back. Now, in one statement, she said she showered, and another one, she didn't mention that at all. But they asked if the shower was in her room, and she said yes, but the lights were off, so she never would have noticed until after that. So I don't know if she like walked in the door and then walked straight into the bathroom, turned the bathroom light on, and didn't even look. But at any rate, she said the apartment door was always left unlocked, and there were no signs of forced entry and no trace of any type of struggle. You want to go to the next one?
Yep.
So the questions that we have and that we've discussed among ourselves are, why did she leave at such an early hour, leaving an 8-year-old asleep in bed, apartment unlocked? Now, there are neighbors that reported that she left in the middle of the night. They saw her leave in the middle of the night and come back. There's also, Amy, what was the one that said they felt the hood was warm?
So after she realized her son was missing, she ran out and calling 911. She ran outside and alerted the neighbors that her son was missing. So neighbors came out. They were helping her search, looking around the area, and there was a neighbor who came over and was walking in between the cars, and not intentionally is the way that it was described. He was passing through the vehicles parked in the parking lot, and his left arm touched the hood of a vehicle that he believed to be the mother's, and the hood was warm, as if the car had been recently drove.
Now, another interesting thing is that in the very beginning, she was cooperative. But very soon after that, she stopped being cooperative. And
Days, days, within days.
yes,
She
within
stopped
days.
within days. Her
And what
son went missing, and she within days stopped communicating with everyone.
and in all of these years, law enforcement says she has not followed up to find out where her son was. And you'll see in the videos that it's her family members talking.
Hmm.
So, this is why we brought this case to you, because on the surface it looks like, oh yeah, this is another thing where the parent did something. We don't think so, and we're gonna explain to you why. It is suspicious and concerning, but we'll tell you why we think he's still alive. Can you go to the next one?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, the mother's story is very concerning and odd. um did you go to the next page? There it is.
So,
Okay, so they did a grid search. They brought in dogs. Whoops, go back.
hold on.
Oh, okay. They brought in dogs, and they searched everywhere. They had tips. They've had age progression images done, um, and they've collected a lot of information. In fact, the investigators say that they've never given up on this case. They have filled 35 binders and turned it over to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which we refer to as NCMEC. And it would be nice to get our hands on what that information is, because as we go forward, you'll see that there's a lot of information for him being alive. Do you want to play any of the videos now, or you want me just to keep going?
No, so I'm going to play I'm going to play an introduction to the case, and
Okay, well, let me go through this, and then you can go through that if you want to do it that way.
mhm.
Okay. So we don't know the year that they did the digitization, but you can see that they've been doing age progression all throughout. There's been several of them. And there have been some suspects. You're going to hear about a guy named Kevin Jalbert. Kevin Jalbert told an undercover police officer who was working on busting him for something else that he kidnapped, and we don't know what he did. Allegedly, he kidnapped a child, and he pointed to that subdivision. They didn't rule him out, but they couldn't do anything more because the clothing that he described was not the same as what his mother said he had on, and he didn't point out the right apartment in that complex. Now, one of those items, he could have very well had it right and his mother had it wrong. We just don't know about that. But he has been convicted for other murders and other crimes of,
He was convicted of, he's in prison at
yes.
this time, and he was convicted. He had, let me see, 60 counts.
Hmm.
Hold on one second.
He's not a good guy.
He had 60 counts of it, and he had 60 counts of possession of child pornography. He was charged with attempted murder, and he was charged with attempting kidnapping. But none of those are related and can be confirmed that they involved the Zackary Bernhardt case. These were all separate.
So throughout the years, he was one of the suspects. They've never completely ruled him out. The police say nobody's ruled out. But over the years, there have been a couple of stories that have come about that have some validity. And it seems like there's some evidence that this young boy, who's a young man now, could very well still be alive. One of them, and you'll see the picture, I think it's in the next image in this presentation.
Okay, hang on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the suspect, Kevin Jalbert. Okay, he's the one that is now in there. Now, the DNA did not match, but he failed his polygraph. So there's just a lot of stuff about him. Okay, the next information is going to be, okay, that's the 5-year-old boy that was abducted right after this. And he was found, there's a 5-year-old boy, not even a year later, was abducted from the same complex after he was lured. He was one of several children, but he was
one of 3. There
Yeah.
were 3 kids playing on a playground. They were trying to climb trees. A man in a white truck pulled up, tried to lure the kids, and the only one who went to the truck was the 5-year-old. He was then snatched, and he was found 80 miles away after being sexually assaulted, and he was found in a dumpster.
Yeah. So, and it was a county away. So, we know that one child has been taken and moved to another location, and he was left alive. So, all right. So they were not able to connect these 2 incidents, but it is very odd that abduction remains unsolved as well. Now, I wasn't able to get an article about it. I couldn't download it, but there is also an article that makes mention of another attempted kidnapping right before Zachary disappeared. And it was a failed kidnapping. So, all right, let's go to the next one, and then we'll show them So it does seem like there's something going on in that area. Okay, now let's talk about the Mexico man. This photo is a man who has been seen in Mexico on more than one occasion. You're going to hear more about this when we do the video, which does the video in a moment. But different articles talk about him not really having a lot of memory of his life, wanting to get back to California. He says his family lived in California, which his family did live in California at one point. She's moved around a lot. That's another thing that people have called out as suspicious is if your child goes missing, why would you all of a sudden move? You want to be there if your child comes home. So anyway, this man looks a lot like Zach, if you see him here. He's homeless. He lives in Mexico, and a lot of people have tried to help him, and that's how photos have come about. Now, there's not been any proof. No one's been able to, see him and talk to him about it, I don't believe. But there are a lot of, questions about this.
So let's go back. So with all this information that we've presented, let's go back to the core of the case and what leads us to this Mexico man.
8-year-old Zackary Bernhardt vanished from Clearwater, Florida in the early hours of September 11th, 2000. Not a single piece of credible evidence has been shared with the public in more than 2 decades until now. News Nation Live anchor Marnie Hughes has the latest on this story in our Missing series.
This is Zachary. It's the little boy we're looking for right now.
September 11th, 2000.
Okay, go help us find Zach.
The Clearwater community flooding the streets looking for 8-year-old Zackary Bernhardt.
He's always had a smile, a wonderful smile. He was a yes ma'am, no ma'am type individual. He's a good boy.
That good boy went to sleep in his mother's bed Sunday night. His mother, Leah, who worked overnights, kept her sleeping schedule. Then around 4 a.m., she says she left the apartment unlocked and went for a brief swim. When she got home, a warm shower. Then she says she checked, and Zachary was gone.
They called us on the phone, Leah did, and said Zachary was missing. So we just thought he was hiding over there in the apartments.
Zachary's grandmother still remembers how quickly they thought this would be over. That all changed with police and agents swarming and canvassing, looking by air, through the brush, and even with wave runners.
We're hoping it would work out, but as the days progressed, it just became very, very long, all-consuming days of trying to, follow up every imaginable lead to try to locate him.
And we want him to come home. We're all here waiting, so please don't stop looking for Zach.
Leah permanently ducked from public view days later, leaving many wondering about that 4 a.m. swim and swirls of talk about her lifestyle. At the core of it all, a community deeply in pain.
I'm feeling madness. I'm feeling really bad, sad.
Then the apartment complex thrust into the unthinkable again. The year after Zachary's disappearance, a man in a white pickup truck lures 3 boys with talks of treats. A 5-year-old wanders closer and is snatched. The boy found alive in a dumpster 10 hours later, nearly 80 miles away. That case never solved.
There's the theory that Zackary might have been a first attempt. And if you successfully get away with that, well, you get a little bit bolder. Maybe I can do this in broad daylight.
Then Kevin Jalbert enters the picture, telling an acquaintance he kidnapped a child from the Savannah Trace apartments. Police investigate and find no ties to Zackary. Jalbert goes to prison on 60 counts of child pornography, attempted murder, and attempted kidnapping. It all leaves decades-old questions for the family.
Even though the police department has said that they rolled them out, there's still things that I wonder myself about.
No one's been excluded, so it's an open investigation. So we just kind of take us where the evidence leads us.
The evidence leading to Mexico, where this drifter gets the attention of social media in the Ocampo area. Many see a striking resemblance to the age progression photo of what 30-year-old Zackary might look like now.
Honestly, my heart dropped. My heart stopped when I saw that picture, and not much has fazed me over the years.
You can't deny there is a resemblance, and it's very intriguing. Whoever this man is, we need to find out who he is.
Clearwater police telling News Nation they've gotten no traction from the 2-year-old photos and another gauntly thin sighting in Mexico. And with the family still in pain, the chief candid about how Florida's longest-running Amber Alert cuts to the core.
I stomach a little guilt, probably more than anything, that I just wasn't able to bring closure.
Marnie Hughes, News Nation.
So what y'all think about that? I'd love to see in chat, what you guys think. What's your initial thought?
I think that a lot of people are stagnant on what's real, what's not real. And we have a handful of people in chat who are aware of the case, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, because it's more eyes on it and more people can share. Now, Amy's got some other information that we haven't gotten to yet about another really strange situation that could possibly lead to the fact that he's still alive.
Yes. So if we go through all of these scenarios about him going missing and all of the sightings in Mexico, there is an in-between. And we have that here, which it's very telling as far as if, his mother dipped out of the scene days after he went missing, which is, it's like unbelievable. Let me pull up the timestamp on this here.
Fig writes, there's a woman on this platform who created content under the handle Petty Betty that has a similar-ish trafficking story she survived. And you know what? It is a real thing. I mean, I've talked to people, I work with a lot of lawyers, and there are people out there that they've told me about that flat out do not believe that trafficking exists. It does exist. It's a real thing. And sometimes the kids grow up and they're still around but they're in places away from family and they don't know who they are or who their family is.
Mm.
It's just a really, really sad thing. So Fig says she escaped late teens, I think. One of my cousins was rescued in a trafficking sting. It's a really, I think it's bigger than we ever would imagine. I think, and you don't feel like mom was involved. Well, I think mom may know something for sure. I mean, that's my gut feeling is mom knows something.
And I feel like mom, the whole family, to be honest, I feel like the whole family is aware of what's transpired. And I feel like grandma, I think it's Carol. I could be wrong, but I think it's Carol. Grandma wanted to take Zachary away from mom. And there were some drug debts that mom had. And Zachary may have been the pawn. I don't know. But what we're going to listen to next, you guys can all decide if you think it's credible or if it's not, that the child was brought into sex trafficking and raised in that atmosphere. And then when he became an adult, he was still brainwashed, that he couldn't come forward and say who he was. And this all trickles down to the man that we have in Mexico. If the people who sex trafficked him died and now he's on his own and he doesn't know what to do, he's now down in Mexico and he's claiming, I can't go near the United States because there are people there looking for me. It kind of all aligns up, but we don't have proof of any of it.
No, and one of the other things I want to point out is that there are times when the kids are trafficked, and then when they age out, they will either ship them off to some other country where they will never be found, or they will unalive them. And, so many of these children are being found in the last few years through these stings that these countries are doing with the U.S. But, for the ones that stay in the trafficking until they age out, and we don't know what the age out is of that particular ring, right? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 18? Do they then push them into, an adult form? We just don't know. But one thing I do know from one of my clients is that blonde-haired, blue-eyes little boys have always been very, very susceptible to trafficking. Now, I don't know if he's got blue eyes, but anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So this next excerpt that we're going to play is someone who has come forward and claimed to have encountered Zackary Bernhardt in a real life setting, that you can't make this up. You just can't. It's such a real story that you have to go, wow. And then with the person in charge of the sex trafficking in this case, who dies like 5 days later after this comes out, does that mean that this Zackary Bernhardt takes off to Mexico? We'll let you guys decide. Hold on.
Slowly fading away, you're lost and so afraid. Where is the hope in a world so cold? Looking for a distant light, someone who can save a life. Living in fear that no one will hear your cry. Can you say I am with you?
This case, we're glad that you are here, and everybody else in the chat. Kelly's in there, Brian's in there. There's tons of people watching online right now. We appreciate every single one of you, and we're going to jump into this security guard testimony. And again, his voice was disguised and his face was not shown because he obviously is concerned about putting himself out there. And we do have some questions, and we've been able to corroborate some of this information, but let's play it to you as it is. Here we go. And I'm going to refresh it before I play it because it seems to want to mess up.
I'm a security officer in Orlando, Florida. Around 2015, 2016, I met Tim, who's now deceased. Tim was a supervisor at Lockheed Martin in Orlando. He hired me to build an apartment in his 3-car garage. He wanted it converted to a 2-car garage with a small apartment. The location was 5451 Brosh Road in Orlando. Tim claimed he was co-owner of the property with one of his co-workers from Lockheed Martin. I drove a patrol vehicle I used for security patrols where I worked. One day while I was at his property, he introduced me to Zach, explaining that he wanted to reassure Zach that I'm not a police officer. Zach was helping a man mow the lawn at Tim's property. The man was a short white male who appeared to be in his 50s. He drove a red pickup truck he used to transport his lawnmowers. Tim always drank and used hardcore drugs. There was no drug he didn't do, and he did the very worst. He asked me if I drank or did drugs, and I don't, and that made him uncomfortable. I told him I'm aware of the medicinal benefits of marijuana and that I was part of the Morgan & Morgan push to legalize marijuana, but I told him I quit, and he pressured me a little and encouraged me to smoke. He said that Zach could get me good sativa at a low price. So I said, okay. So I'm sitting there with Zach in the main house at 5451 Brosh Road. Zach called or texted his marijuana contact, and now we're waiting for the marijuana. Zach was playing a video game on his phone, and he suggested that I save his phone number as a future marijuana contact. So I enter his number into my phone to save him as a contact, and I ask him what his last name is, and he replied, Bernhardt. Then a moment later, as an afterthought, he adds, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. When I asked him why, he replied, you don't know? And of course, at the time, I had no idea that what he was talking about, and I was unaware that he was reported as a missing child back in 2000, the day before 9/11. One day I'm working on the garage apartment, and I can hear Tim telling Zach over the phone that because Zach owed him money, Zach would have to do whatever Tim wanted for as long as he wanted. The more I got to know Tim, the more I could see his predatory nature. He was constantly trying to manipulate people or exploit them. He loved saying people owed him something. He would later say I owed him money when in fact he owed me money. He constantly talked about how he was gay, and he constantly used the racist N-word and expressed racial hatred, which I found ironic because when he needed drugs, he got them from a black guy he pretended to like. I didn't like his character, and I would try to limit my conversations with him and kind of distance myself from Tim. I even started charging him more to work on the garage apartment. One evening after I was working on the garage apartment, I was spraying my vehicle off because it was covered in sawdust. And Tim walked right through the spray and then confronted me about it. So I said, "You walked into the spray, Einstein. Whose fault is that?" Then he did something he shouldn't have done, and Tim invoked the name of my best friend and mentor, who has passed away into the spiritual world. This man was a sniper for the U.S. Army in Vietnam. He was an expert hunter, an expert gardener. He helped people and never exploited anyone. Tim, on the other hand, was a liar and a coward, so it infuriated me when he invoked Michael's name, and I made him agree to never say the name again, and I never worked for him again after that. About a year and a half later, I'm watching TV, and ID Discovery was showing Disappeared, Season 8, Episode 8, entitled About a Boy. I didn't watch it the first time it aired. This was a repeat episode, and it covered the disappearance of missing person Zackary Bernhardt, who disappeared in 2000 as a child. And I remember meeting Zach at Tim's house and him accidentally telling me his last name is Bernhardt when I saved him as a contact. And there were other things that I recognized. He looked 100% like the childhood photos, but nothing at all like the computer-generated age-enhanced image. The only similarity with the computer-generated image is hair color. They look absolutely nothing alike, especially the lower face and jaw. The computer-generated image is of a person at least average size, if not bigger than average, white American. The Zackary Bernhardt I met is a little guy, smaller than an average white male his age. He was short, around 5'5", maybe 125 pounds. He wasn't skinny, but he was small, extremely well-behaved and well-mannered, very kind and friendly. In 2018, all of this information was given to Clearwater Police Department. 6 days later, Tim was deceased. Detective Collymore played phone tag with me briefly, and then I never heard back from her. I'm choosing to remain anonymous. You're the only one I'm giving a statement to other than the police, and so your audience knows that's because I know you from working together in security.
So there it is.
Now, let me point out a couple of interesting things. When we first found out about this and we first listened to this, I Googled that address that he mentions that he was working on converting the garage. And there is a Zach that lived there, but he went by a different name. Now, he was not the owner. He just lived there. His name was, allegedly Zach Jakovich. And so, there's a possibility that it was the same guy. We just don't know.
There's also reports of his mother moving to Hawaii and there being a Zach with her new married name listed as a resident there in Hawaii.
That's right. I think it's Hackett. I think her new name might be Hackett. I don't remember off the top of my head, but our point is there's a lot of avenues to go down in this case. There's a lot of things that, we don't know what all the police have done because it's still an investigation. So we aren't really sure where they've gotten to, but I know the power of social media and the internet, and those of us that really care about finding other people, finding people that have been trafficked or are missing or whatever. There are a lot of things we can look for.
And we have the number scrolling across the bottom of the screen for the Clearwater Police, because that seems to still be the main contact. This is the longest running Amber Alert in the state of Florida for Zackary Bernhardt. And our goal today is, this is just a call to action. If you have any information if you have ever encountered this individual who would now be around the age of 32, if you look at the images that we've showed of the man from Mexico, and you think that you know this person, call it in. Terry?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
What was I going to say?
I wanted you to commentary on if anyone out here has any information.
Yeah. If you've got information, it's still a missing person, like she said, in Florida, but also it's still on the National and Exploited Missing Children. Now, when you do a deep dive into this, you're going to see some conversations and some videos where they talk about it never was an alert on the National and Exploited. That's not true. It is. But you've got to make sure you spell his name with an A, Zachary Bernhardt, or you won't find him. But the other issue is an active alert from them. I mean, he's still under a missing, but the active alert did not go out because they did not have the required information, and that is a suspected vehicle. You know, to put that alert out over the airwaves, they've got to have something for people to look at or look for. But right now, he would be a grown man. If you know anyone, or if you can share this with any of your missing.
And if you have any information on Zackary Bernhardt.
Go ahead. Keep going.
It's okay. Anyway, if you have, groups that you're a part of that you can share this out, you just never, ever know. Legal Lacey, I was wondering how an alert went out. Well, the alert in Florida, it went out. They have their rules, but the national alert, it couldn't go into that because, and Trial Junkie saying he could be in the system and he could be anywhere. What do you mean in the system? You mean in the prison system? Because in my mind, when you say in the system, I'm thinking prison. But are you meaning the trafficking system? I don't know. But I think there's a good possibility that if this young man's alive, he can be found. Now, I will say this, if the trafficking system, he could be anywhere in the world. I will say this, something I did read is that if you happen to find out where he is or whatever, you very well may want to just contact the police and let them handle it, because the last thing we want is, if he's truly trying to hide from people that could harm him, is to out him, if that makes sense. But he may be lost and doesn't know who he is. They give a lot of drugs to those kids. At 8 years old, you would remember your family, but then after a period of years of being on drugs and stuff, who knows?
Yeah, and he says he doesn't remember where he's from, but he does state the man in Mexico that was encountered. He doesn't remember who he was. He thinks he came from California, and he had to be careful if someone was to take him back to the United States. They would say there were people looking for him. So he was worried about that. He claims he has a background in Orlando, Hawaii, Mexico, and California.
And his mother has lived in a variety of those places.
Which, to me, I don't feel like she's not offering any help. She wants this to go away. I mean, there's no way your child goes missing out of your bed at around 4 a.m. in the morning, and days later, you're done talking to the news media for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And she has she's not been involved at all. His family has been the ones looking for him, and it's just really sad that
But none of the families so far has been willing to point the finger at the mom knowing more. And that's frustrating when it's frustrating in the fact that there are serious indicators that the story doesn't make sense, especially with her her leaving the apartment in the middle of the night. Like, I work midnight hours. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know that on my days off, I have to stay up and stay awake. And maybe it was a random walk. Let's take the trash out, then I'm going to walk through the complex, then I'm going to hop in the pool and take a quick swim and then realize, holy shit, it's too cold. What was I thinking? Let me get out of here. Go back home. She goes back home. She enters the apartment. She goes up to her bedroom, hops in the shower to cool off or warm up, so to speak, then realizes that her son's not in the bed. I can get all of that.
Yeah, I can too.
What I don't get is 3 to 5 days later, she's done with talking about the case.
Yeah.
And you have grandma, you have all of these other side stories going on about the grandmother was trying to get custody. The mother had debts.
She had a drinking problem, I know.
Huh?
She had a drinking problem because she had some criminal, there's some criminal records out there related to drinking.
Grandma or mom?
Mom.
Okay. So,
and here's another thing that's interesting. She tried to change her name in 97 and was not successful. I don't know why. But now this was before he went missing, but it's just kind of strange. All of this is there's a lot of strange stuff out there.
The mom tried to change her name?
Yeah, in 97. And it was apparently in that county, in Pinellas County, and apparently it just says failed. It doesn't say why. But then she also in 97 had some she pled guilty, or she was bench trialed guilty, I guess. And all of these look like they might be drinking issues. But I'd have to dig a little bit more on that. Unlawful use of temporary tag. Unlawful name change. I don't know if she was maybe trying to be somebody she wasn't. But then in March of 2001, she got a DUI. It's called DWI down there, driving while impaired. Yeah, so that may be what the family's referring to. Maybe the family's referring, I mean, she lost her license, it looks like. So maybe that's what the family was referring to, is knowing that she had issues.
Well, Heidi, your question about what name is the mom in Mexico using, I'm not aware of a name. I'm not aware of the mom being in Mexico.
No, she said the man in Mexico.
Oh, man in Mexico. I don't have that name.
We don't know.
And Lacey, you're right. On all accounts, mom was a good mother. Everyone in her family said she was a good mother.
Yeah.
She worked nights. She stayed up. He went missing in the middle of the night. So all we're doing today is putting his case back in the forefront, asking for a call to action. and giving you all of the different tentacles that are connected to this case, whether it be he went missing and is now gone forever, or he was traded or pawned off for a debt that, you know, went sideways, and then obviously ventured out to Mexico after he has gotten out of being under the thumb of a sex trafficker. We don't know. We're just putting all the information out there, and running across the bottom of the screen is how to contact the Clearwater Police Department if you have any information.
Yeah, and I want to make sure you guys know we're not blaming the mom, because honestly, we aren't in her shoes and we don't know what her life was like then. You know, she could have been too tired one night, and driving while impaired could have been a medicine she took. I mean, if you take too much cough medicine, I mean, we don't know. But there had to be some reason that the family or the grandma wanted to get custody, but none of them have said she was neglectful. In fact, they said she loved him and that he meant everything to her. So it's very possible that when he went missing, I don't know why she would have just left in a few days. It makes no sense to me, but maybe she just was threatened and had to get out of there. We don't know.
Legal Lacey, she's asked on a night that she wasn't supposed to be home, she was supposed to go to work, but it changed. Do you have any info on why her work schedule changed that night?
I do not.
We do not. My understanding was this was a night off that she had, and she was, trying to keep her sleep schedule the same, because you have to when you work odd hours. And I do know that there were reports of her attempting to get a babysitter for her son that night. Those in the community, in the apartment complex, there was someone throwing a party, and I don't believe the mother asked if Zachary could attend. It was Zachary who asked if he could attend, and he was told no, that it was for adults only. So that's all that we know. And I don't believe mom worked 7 days a week. So if this was a night off for her, it was a night off.
Yeah, no, I think she was scheduled to work. And that's been a question I've seen come up many times, is why did her schedule suddenly change when it never changes? Because apparently she had a really steady work schedule and it changed suddenly. But you know what? It could have changed
just on that night. So she was supposed to work that night.
Right. That's what I'm saying. She was supposed to work, but we don't know why her schedule changed. I mean, somebody could have called and said, will you switch with me? We don't know what her job was like. Yeah, Legal Lacey, she was supposed to work. We don't know why she did not work. Trial Junkie says if he's alive, he's either a handler himself or he's in hiding. Yeah, and that's what I think. I don't know if he's a handler, because he kind of looks in these pictures really, really thin. And
hey, woman. Sorry, I'm just saying hello.
He doesn't look like he is, making money doing anything. But I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you listen to the undercover security guard and his story, it's this person that he believes to be Zackary Bernhardt is fully aware of who he is himself, and he's fully capable of protecting his identity from being put out there because people are looking for him. And that is bizarre. Like, what has been told to this child that as a grown man now, he is still latching onto, thinking that it's his only safety net, that his identity cannot get out. That's very scary.
It is very scary. And Skinny asks, are there any other known trafficking issues around the area around the time? Well, here's the thing. You know, in the last 3 years or so, maybe 5 years, we've only begun to uncover just how deep the trafficking world goes and just how bad it is and how many children have been a part of it. So there may have very well been known trafficking back in those days, and either it wasn't well known or we just didn't know about it, or the police may know and they don't have enough information to release out, or they don't want to release it. You know, on the that presentation, Amy, that I did, if you bring it up and forward through to like the yeah, keep going. Okay, you may not be able to read it really well here, but if you go back, there's a whole page of sources. But these are the things we need. Let's see. If you can go back a couple pages.
Okay.
Right there.
Here?
Right here. A lot of people say, why do you believe this is solvable? Well, I want you to look at all these names. All of those names on that page where it said these are solvable, all of those people were abducted and found alive again. And that's not all of them. That's just all that would fit on that page.
That's true. Calling Stan, that case is horrific.
Yeah, the girl in the box. That was horrible under the bed. Oh.
JC Dugard, Elizabeth Smart. There's a lot on here. And
Stephen Stainer, if you know his story.
Yes.
He was trafficked, and then he was helping someone traffic, and he finally said enough is enough and got them both out.
He did. And, you know, and it's sad that, you know, I can put up a live stream link that says Delphi, and people wouldn't give a shit about what the content of that live stream was, and they show up.
Yeah.
And then we do an episode like this. This is our first episode on Case by Case about a missing person, a child, that hand in hand involves trafficking, child pornography, sexual assault.
Who knows what else?
And being unsolved.
Yeah.
And nobody shows up for it. That's sad.
You know, I've heard other content creators out there, other YouTube channels, say the exact same thing. I heard Bob Motta say one time, look, I know this isn't Delphi, but it's still important.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you know, we just have to stay the course with bringing these out, and hopefully they will grow, you know, and hopefully one day Delphi won't be a thing. It'll be resolved.
Hopefully.
But yeah, if you look at this list and just see, you know, if you go down on the first on the left, Amanda, Gina, and Michelle, you remember all of those? All three of them were found in Cleveland alive. One of them having had a child by the perpetrator. I'm sure many of you can recognize these names down the list that you've heard. Kara Robinson. There was a very good show about her on one of the networks. There's just so many people out here like this that we've got to start getting some coverage to them. So anything you guys can do to share and get people here. And a lot of people will be on the replay crew.
So yeah, if you're on the replay crew, please drop it in the chat. Everything here is real life. It's real life with everything that we are looking at, not just in the Delphi case, but overall across the country. All of these different cases that have missing children who have been trafficked, abducted, and then are found years later, that we are going, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of these we've never heard of, and it's just, we were talking this morning, working on another case to bring, and there's so many out there that we've never even really heard of. And the bad thing is there's so many cases now where the young children, everything points to a parent being involved. You've got a case like Summer Wells where everyone out there on social media seems to think that her parents were involved. We don't know. None of us know. We know the police haven't charged them, and there's some suspicious stuff, but that's just one case out of thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yep.
Trial Junkie says trafficking started after World War II. Yeah, I think it just didn't make the mainstream until recently. You didn't really hear about it. Well, the first I really heard about it was a movie that Michael Douglas did many, many years ago, bringing it to attention. And he got blacklisted for that. Nobody would hire him for a long time for doing that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's weird from a normal person standpoint, but when you have an industry of celebrities and millionaires and billionaires who are involved in that same kind of business,
yeah,
it makes sense.
Well, and I'll say this, it's not hard. People will say, no, I don't think Hollywood's involved. It's not hard, and it's not a far leap to think that Hollywood would be, because look at the nature of the things that they do just in making movies with young people. They often have inappropriate scenes. There's parties. Actors that were kids have come out and talked about the parties with the sex and the drugs, and some of them were 13 and 14 years old. And Trial Junkie, it's very possibly government funded. It's very possible.
Yeah.
Robin, yes, Amy does an excellent job on this channel.
And like and subscribe and share. That's the only way we're going to get the word out. That's the only way we're going to be able to draw attention to these types of cases. And we need your help, period. Yeah. Everybody in the chat, we need your help.
Can you advance it to the next page? And that'll tell them the ways these are some ways that we came up with that we think we need to obtain the full case files from Clearwater doing a FOIA request. Now, Florida is one of those sunshine states. They are really good about releasing what they can possibly release. Matter of fact, they release stuff I sometimes wish they wouldn't. Research how to register to access the Project Atom digitized materials. I don't know how to do that. Spread awareness through media campaigns. Request re-examination of the physical evidence using modern tech. It's very possible that anything they have now they could, check that out again. Encourage anyone with information, especially past residents of Savannah Trace Farms, to come forward. Amy, can you tell them, somebody up there's asking how to share the video?
If you go to YouTube and you click and you go to Case by Case and you go to this live stream, right underneath the initial thumbnail, there'll be a link that says share, and all you have to do is share it, and this video will be shared wherever you place that URL.
And if you're putting it in, that's okay, Heidi. If you're putting it in groups and things like that, missing person groups and things like that, make sure that you copy that URL and paste it in rather than trying to send it to a group, because sometimes the groups won't let you do it that way.
Thank you, Heidi.
Does anybody have any questions about this or anything that we've missed as far as ways to help? Does anybody live in that area, near that area, know anybody in that area? Either in Florida or, well, I guess Florida.
Clearwater.
Yeah. But I mean, if he's in Mexico, but still somebody in Florida should know. And if you do research this and you find out any information about people that lived at that address that was mentioned in that video, I wouldn't go communicating directly with them. You might just do some background research, because, I mean, we don't want to be accusing anybody of anything.
No, in this case, there is a ton of information out there about this case. A ton. And all you have to do is go to Google, and a plethora of information will come up. And
yeah, there's a page here of where we got all the information from in this thing, but you can't really read it well. Skinny says, what do his childhood friends have to say? They really didn't, other than comment that they were sad, but there wasn't really anything. I mean, a lot of attention was not placed on them. We don't really know much about his friendships or any of that. We just know that he was a kid that supposedly everyone loved.
Yeah, and he was a cute kid. And yeah. Mom was adorable as well. Yeah. But after he was reported missing, she just dropped off the radar, and law enforcement didn't pursue it, which is strange. It's very strange.
They did, they didn't comment on it.
No, they didn't. And we are now lost in, the atmosphere as far as where Zachary is and who could have abducted him. I completely understand, her position as a single mom, because I've been there. I was married for 23 years, got divorced. When I got divorced, I had a young teenage daughter, still in high school, and it was just her and I. And I was like, bouncing around my career, bouncing around my schedule, and I could see myself, cleaning up after she went to bed, even though that Zachary was 8 years old. It's the same concept. You put your child to bed, you clean up the apartment, you take the trash out, and you're like, oh, F it. Let me just take a walk. She hopped in a pool, and she came back.
But, here's the other thing that's interesting. It's possible that when this happened, it was a message to mom, and mom had to get out of the area. I mean, that does happen.
We just don't know.
No, because if she felt her life was in danger, and if she was doing anything wrong, if there were drugs, I mean, anytime, people don't believe this, but anytime there's drugs involved, you never can tell what will happen. Because you never know when someone's going to go crazy for drugs. You know, I've known people when I was doing a little bit of legal work that, I mean, they told me they would have taken out a relative to get their heroin. I mean, it's that bad. Now, I'm not saying she did any of that. I mean, it looks like maybe she drank a bit, but, you know, it could have been medicine. Who knows? But my point is, we don't know what was going on in her life. Well, Skinny, the law enforcement really focused on Kevin Jalbert for a very long time. And they have said in several places that he is not off their radar for it.
But
how would he know that that one apartment was open, unlocked, and just happened to mosey in I think she was gone 11 to 15 minutes. And
not to mention that mom actually, when she left the apartment, went out the back door, which was the sliding glass door, not the front door. So for those who think that her apartment was being watched, she didn't even go out the front door. She went out the back door.
Yeah. And then there's still the whole issue of the neighbor who swears that he saw her leaving around 2 o'clock in the morning.
In her car.
In her car. Yep. Now, I don't know that she's ever said she didn't go. She could have run to the store. She may have been a smoker and went and got a pack of cigarettes at 2 in the morning. You know, I don't know. I don't know why else you would ever go to the store at 2 in the morning unless you're a smoker or unless you're getting ice cream. I mean, Skinny says whoever they have as their POI is who they will stay on. Cops cannot stand to be wrong. Well, there were boots on the ground. Well, I will say this. They did a lot of work. I mean, law enforcement jumped on this fast and hard. I mean, they drug lakes. They went to ponds. They had dogs out. They did everything. And even after she left and was no longer involved, and they've never said anything about that being suspicious. So they may know that she had to leave. We don't know. That's why I think getting those files, if we can, would help a little bit. You know, I don't know if they'll release them. We might have a better chance getting them through Project Adam.
Yeah, the Clearwater Police Department has the whole entire case file. And if we had those and we could go through them, it would be great.
But Project Adam has got the digitized version. So if we could get that electronic version, I just don't know what it takes to get it from Project Adam. I know it is a resource that was created at National and Exploited Missing for journalists and law enforcement and all kind of people to be able to get the word out. That's what it's created for. But since we don't technically fall into any of those categories, has local actively pushed back on anything? No, they've just continued to get the word out and look. I mean, they've not. They've said they haven't ruled out Kevin Jalbert. They've not been able to find the Mexico man. Did law enforcement say anything about that Tim guy? I can't remember.
No, I mean, the fact that he died 5 days later after being put on Front Street, as far as him being a party to the Zackary Bernhardt that the security guard encountered, no, they have not spoken out about that at all.
Well, the guy that died, He was the one that was working for Lockheed Martin.
That was Tim.
Yeah, that's the guy that died. Tim is the one that lived in that 5451, whatever that address was.
Right. And it was at his house where the Zackary Bernhardt character was to be hanging out or living. And then there was the security guard who was hired to come in and do remodeling on the garage. And that's where he encountered Zackary Bernhardt, or AKA the guy who accidentally said his name was Zackary Bernhardt.
Yeah. But we don't know anything about Tim's last name or anything like that.
No, I think I have his last name.
Well, I pulled the
go back through and look.
When I pulled the property, I did not see a Tim as a previous owner, but I did see a possible resident by the name of Zackary. And what's interesting is it's spelled the same way Zackary spells his, and that's unusual.
With the A?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
I think
Okay.
you're right. The grandmother's name is Carol Bernhardt, by the way.
Oh.
And the mother's name may be Hanson now. I think it was Hackett.
That's the mom's name, isn't it?
Leah Hackett is the mom's name, but it may be Leah Hanson now. Because it looks like there's I don't know if she's gotten remarried. Do we know that?
Yeah, I believe that mom's been remarried. She's changed. I think that she's changed her name.
Yeah.
And she has distanced herself from the entire case, which is insane.
Well, her aliases are Leah Amelia Hanson, Leah Hackett, Leah Hanson, Leah T. Hanson, Leah Cochran, and Leah Bernhardt. Now, some of those may or may not be accurate, but now it shows that she lives in Orlando again, or maybe she lives in Hawaii.
I thought she lived in Hawaii. And the crazy thing about the Hawaii address is the fact that there is a Zackary who is affiliated with the same addresses that she has in Hawaii with some of her same last names.
Okay, it looks like she might be back in Orlando now because she last lived in Kailua, Hawaii in September of 23. But she apparently lived in Michigan and North Carolina and then of course, Clearwater, Lakeland, Tampa. And then North Carolina, it looks like North Carolina might be where she moved to right after this happened. But there is an address in California too, which that guy mentioned about California.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know why he would be alive and she would be hiding him. Why? Explain that to me, somebody.
Unless the only way that it makes sense is that she was being pressured with eviction again. They had moved 14 times in 11 years, which, your lease is up, you move. Your lease is up, you move. That doesn't mean a whole lot, but
it does to me. I hate moving. I told them,
yeah, but some people don't. Some people
going to be in.
Yeah, but some people don't. Some people will live in an apartment and then move, and When the lease is up, they move again. They don't really care.
Yeah,
But
that's true. That's true. It's just too much packing and unpacking for me.
if she passed her son on to someone family related, we are now dealing with a whole mantra of charges and allegations. And is it easier for him to be missing than it is to tell the truth? I don't know. You know, if this security guard encountered Zackary Bernhardt at a residence, and this person is saying that the man that he's living with seems to be in complete control of him and is literally threatening, I'm going to tell Carol, which is
the grandmother
of Zackary, who prior to Zackary going missing was attempting to get custody of him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this case.
The grandmother knew where he was. It seems crazy that she would be spending so much time and effort getting the word out and continuing to do that. And she's 84 years old.
Exactly.
So that's another thing that doesn't make sense. I mean,
exactly. It's
see,
a conundrum.
This is why this case is one of those rabbit holes. I say rabbit holes, and my husband says it's a rabbit warren. It is a rabbit warren. It feels like a rabbit warren, but I don't know. It's just.
But there's either the child was abducted.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one or two avenues in this case. The child was abducted exactly the way the mom said. And for whatever reason, there's no trace evidence. There is no trail with cadaver dogs, any kind of canine unit out there searching.
It's impossible to me
to locate this child's remains. I mean, we're talking 25 years plus.
It seems impossible to me that someone, I mean, think about this. Someone's going to know exactly when the doors open. She went out the back door. Okay. Number one. Number two, they're going to put their gloves on. They're going to know that he's not in his bedroom. He's sleeping in her room. And remember, they've only got between 11 and 15 minutes, depending on her story, 11 and 15 minutes to get him out of there without an 8-year-old boy making a noise.
Right.
I mean, you've either got to have them drugged. I mean, 8-year-old boys are loud all the time. And I can't imagine even a quiet 8-year-old boy would not be yelling. And whether someone heard it or not is not the point. It's the same reason burglars don't break into homes with dogs. You don't want to take a chance of drawing attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So someone's got to come in and they leave no DNA, no fingerprints.
They snatch him. They knew exactly where they were going. They snatch him out of the bed and they take off.
That's right.
So it's either that, or with all of the witnesses' accounts of that night, the car leaving, the car coming back, the car being hot to the touch by a neighbor, was this child handed over to either a drug dealer or a family member who wanted custody? And the spotlight took precedence over all of that. And now it's too far gone to come out and tell the truth. And this kid was raised in a nefarious situation of sex trafficking, drug trafficking, abuse. And Now he is left to his own demise. I don't know.
Well, my other thinking when you said that is, let's say that she did leave at 2 in the morning, like the neighbor says. I mean, the neighbor was adamant that he saw her car leaving at 2. Let's say she took him somewhere. No one saw her carry him out. He may have walked out himself. Don't know how far her car was from the front door. Maybe they went out the back door. But let's say he went with her somewhere and she, like you said, traded him off, handed him off, or something happened to him in that home and she took him to dispose of him. And like someone wrote in the chat a minute ago, remains are easy to get rid of in Florida. If you know where to put them, especially where there's gators, for sure. There's a lot of people that go missing in Florida. But he wasn't a small kid, like Lacey says. No one saw him leaving. The family has been, other than the mother, the family's been very involved, especially the aunt and the grandmother.
Right, but the grandmother has been implicated as well.
That's right. But she's still out there fighting for him, which if you're implicated, in my mind, I would, number one, lawyer up and shut up. But if it's not if I hadn't done anything wrong, I'd still look for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering, can the family be reached? I don't know, Robin. I don't know if they can be reached or not. And you know what? There's no mention of his dad was mentioned at one point. What is dad's last Jacobs or something?
Well, the father, so in the midst of the investigation, the mom, Leah, identified Zachary's father for the first time. Yeah. Zachary was 8 years old at the time that he went missing, and apparently no one knew who his dad was. And within the investigation, she releases the name. They contact the father. The father says, I had no idea that I fathered a child with her, and I don't give a crap what's going on. I don't want involved. And that was pretty much the end of it.
I thought there was something else where the father.
No.
Okay.
Law enforcement was thinking that maybe there was something like a custodial agreement or something to that effect, and that wasn't the case. The biological father of Zachary had no idea that he had fathered a child. And Leah, within the midst of the investigation, revealed who Zachary's father was. He had never been informed that he had a son with Leah. And when he was informed, his stance was, I wasn't aware and I don't want to be involved.
All right. Well, that tells you something sad about the relationship.
No, it was probably a one-night stand.
Could have been.
I mean, it
happens.
And the whole thing stinks. It really does. And the fact that she just basically stepped off of the podium and didn't want to be bothered with the investigation is alarming to me.
And also her many stories, because I don't know if you realize her first story was that she couldn't sleep, and at 3 she stepped out and had a cigarette. Then later her story changed. But I wonder how old the mom was when she had him. Well, wasn't she 24 when this happened?
She was 23 or 24.
So she was young when he was born.
She was young. She was young.
So, we don't know her background. We don't know anything about how she got pregnant. You know, Lacey says this was a pop-up pregnancy and she was going to do it solo, and her family pitched in, and the dad was never involved. Yeah, I mean,
that clearly seems to be the case. I mean, this, if you're dealing with, I mean, as a woman, as a mother giving birth, and you go through all of these emotional levels of, oh my God, I'm in pain, and oh my God, I have to care for this child. I would personally, this is just my opinion, and I'm not saying that it's a fact, but if someone's going to snap and do something outrageous, detrimental to a child, it's going to be long before the age of 8. Because by 8 years old, this child is very much independent, capable of feeding himself, getting himself dressed, getting prepared for school. You know, the stress level of a mother with a child is on the onset of birth, and being obligated to feed every 2 to 4 hours, change diapers, you know, all of that is, you know, we're beyond that with this case. So that leads me to believe that maybe mom is being truthful in the fact that, you know, she put her son to bed, go to bed, it's time to go to sleep. Yeah, you can sleep in my bed. He goes to sleep in her bed, and she's up because she works nights, which I can relate to. But even though I work nights, I'm not up like walking the hallways. I will stay up and I'll watch TV in bed. I will get on my phone. I'll do certain things, and then I will trickle off to sleep. I don't ever remember getting up and doing like productive things in the middle of the night just to keep my schedule. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I'm a night owl, as Amy can tell you. I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
I'm usually up until about 3. And I don't get up and go wandering around. I don't even usually come downstairs. You know, I usually stay upstairs. Lacey, I'm not quite sure. I was looking here. It looked like her date of birth is in 71, because it looks like she might be 54 now, but I can't tell for sure if that's right. And Trial Junkie said she was probably protecting him and knew what happened. I'd look into the family. Who were they? What connections did they have? And I think that's another, a deep dive into that can help. Amy and I did a good bit of a deep dive, but we didn't go into everything. There's a lot out there. There's a lot.
And you can't always like take every single piece of information and run with it. I mean, there's the basis of this case is we know where he went missing, what the storyline was based on his mother, and we know what transpired afterwards. We know who came forward claiming to be a child abductor, which he became a joke. Period, point blank, he did. But then we have this interaction with someone who has nothing to do with missing person cases, who comes forward and says, oh my God, I think I met this guy at this guy Tim's house. And he gives that story. And then 5 days later, that man whose house this occurred at is dead.
And that needs to be looked into. Somebody needs to dig into that and see who is that guy, that Tim guy. Who was he and how did he die? And can we find his obituary? Because it may turn out that this isn't true. And I don't know why anybody would waste their time and energy making that up. But
I fully believe that the death is true. But this goes into the belly of child sex trafficking and kids being brainwashed and controlled. And when you look at a case like this, if this person that claims they encountered Zackary Bernhardt at this residence, this person, aka Zackary Bernhardt, is in fear of something beyond what we all can fathom. He feels that he needs to keep the fact that he is alive a secret for whatever reason. And that's scary that someone can be, but you take an 8-year-old and you brainwash them onward throughout their teenage life, their adult life. And he's now in a position where he can come and go freely from the person who's in charge of sex trafficking him. And he is still obligated to hold value in, I cannot let anyone know that I'm alive. That's scary.
Also, hey, can you pull something up, Amy?
Like what?
If I send you a link on the chat, can you pull it up?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you in the private chat. See if you can share this with us. This is the mom's business. She's got her own business. And you can tell by looking at her that it's her. I don't know if you can share that or not.
No, I can. Give me a second.
It's a little bit interesting, isn't it? And she is back in Orlando.
So this is Zachary's mom.
Now.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah, trial junkie.
So this is Zachary's mom.
And her license for that business, Total Leah, was created in Florida in 2001, October 24th, 2001. And it's been paid for, you got to pay a business license thing. It's been paid for every year. And she.
Okay, wait. So Zackary goes missing in 2000 and she creates his website in 2001.
That's what the records say. That's what the business records say.
With no mention of her son.
I don't see a mention of her son at all. And it's, hold on a minute. Let me look. Total Leah Experience was the name originally. And it was October 24th, 2001. And then in July of this year, she changed it over to Total Leah Experience LLC.
Okay, I don't like her.
She's got a possible business associate too, who's about her age and shares an address with her and has lived with her about 10 years.
That's great.
But yeah, I mean,
Heidi asks, can you side by side, wait a minute, where'd it go? Can you side by side the picture of the man in Mexico with hers? Which hers?
With Leah's her new one? I think that's what they're asking.
I'm not sure which
And
one.
her new name in her property is Leah Hansen. She's married to Scott Hansen. So that other person's name was a business associate.
Hold on. I'm not sure what they mean about sharing the images.
I think they're thinking share the Mexican guy's photo up beside, yeah, the one on the website you're showing. So show Mexico man next to hers. Yes, Skinny, they're still unknown. No one knows where he is.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, so yes, that's what it is those. Are you wanting to see if he looks like her now as him being older? Is that what you're wanting to compare? I think they look alike from what I recall seeing earlier. And are the whereabouts of the Mexican guy still known? They're unknown, but I want to look at something here while she's pulling that up.
Hold on. Yeah.
You guys are getting to be part of a live deep dive that we're doing. Usually we do this behind the scenes, but it's more fun this way, isn't it?
It is.
Here's a letter a customer wrote her. Dear Leah, thank you for a wonderful year of fun and fitness. You've given me so much insight into how to play with exercise and look forward to coming to the gym. Your commitment and passion for what you do is written all over you and will always serve you and others well. I want to see what her blog says. She says, I got hurt about 7 years ago. Recovery was insane. Pain was my constant companion.
Are you there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I have pulled up.
Chester 22, is there a reward? Don't know that I've heard about a reward, honestly.
Chester, stop it. There's not a reward.
Oh.
No, don't get me. Chester, I don't think there's a reward for this case. Let me see. Share screen. What are we doing here?
I'm so surprised my dog's been behaving, but he's usually happy as long as he's with me, and he's had his lunch and now he's ready to nap. Her son goes missing and a year later goes whole hog into a business. Wonder if her income changed. Yeah, I was thinking that too, Skinny. I was wondering about the income too.
Yeah.
While you're pulling that up, I am still kind of looking around to see what else there is.
Well, I had it up. I'm trying to figure out where it went. Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, she's got a LinkedIn account, it looks like. Oh, I was going to pull up her business record.
Okay. Let me see.
Okay, she changed her name to
LG
Leah
Bird had a
Hackett.
single playlist, but there was a playlist here along with the cooking one, the Leah, or any members of the family in 6 days, where her and Zach would be just for, and then I responded and asked just for police to say or
Sorry, I'm just trying to
that was
pull in.
always willing to help take care of her. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think she sold him? Do you think she orchestrated a kidnapping hoax? What do you think happened so far? All right, we got a few more theories. Let's take a look. Theory number 4, Leah killed young Zachary. This is the other one that you hear about. The theory is that Leah got tired of raising Zach and wanted to go have a party life, or thought that she couldn't give him a good life, so she killed him to be free of the burden of raising a child. Now think Kaylee Anthony's story. If any of you were watching this, you probably know that story.
I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, still burns me when I hear about it. Now,
Did you
PYC
find a way to
strongly
put them
believes
up
that
side
this
by
is
side?
not what happened. Okay, here are some reasons why. Number 1, there was family ready to step up and take him in to raise him. Okay, aunts and uncles.
You want me to send you something with them side by side?
Yeah, you might want to, because I can't go back and find what I had in here, because we went through it and now it's been deleted.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Just 1 second. Let me do this.
I don't think mom killed the child.
No,
Worst case scenario, I think that the child was passed off to someone else, or someone else came in and intervened and took the child and left mom thinking the child had been abducted.
Yeah, that's possible too. Okay.
And now the case is too far gone to come back and tell the truth. I mean,
yeah, now it's kind of, now so many years have gone by, she's probably not willing to say anything.
Right. Or, I mean, the fact that she dipped out on the case days after her son went missing, that's no. Sorry.
That's the concerning part right there.
It's more than concerning. It's telling. It's more than concerning. It's telling. And a mother who has lost her child is going to go batshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I'm adding this now to this, and then I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can make it a little bigger there. All right. Now I'm going to put that on top of that, on top of that. There we go now. What do you need me to send it to you as? A PDF or a JPEG?
A PDF would be the best.
Okay. Did they hire a private investigator to find the boy? I'm not aware of them hiring anybody to do that, really. You want me to email it or text you? Because I can't add it in this chat.
You can email it. Well,
okay,
in almost 30 years, if law enforcement still feels the need to hang on to information that they haven't released, then they're not trying to solve this case at all.
Okay, I just sent it.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know a couple of detectives that have told me through the years that there comes a point where you're better off sharing what you have with the public and risking it, because after all those years, it's less likely that you're going to need what you're hiding to be, hold back information, because 20 years later, the person that comes forward with information that's going to solve the case most likely is not going to remember the holdback information, or it's not going to be exactly how you have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've heard
this.
Did that work?
Hold on. Well, an image worked.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so what do y'all think? Sorry, it took us a little bit to put it together because her picture wouldn't allow you to just download it. You had to snap it. What do y'all think? Their nose is a lot
versus that.
Okay. Their nose is a lot alike. What are y'all thinking in chat?
I think the guy in Mexico could be this individual. But to me, it's the individual. It's still the same individual that the security guard claimed he encountered at the guy Tim's house.
Mm-hmm. All right, Heidi, what are you thinking? Is Heidi still here? Not sure on the mouth. Yeah, the mouth is but the nose, look at the nose.
Well,
but here's what I'm thinking about this Mexico man. National, NCMEC has been doing these recreation images, all right? If they saw this picture of the Mexico man, and they did, because law enforcement did, they would have probably jumped on this like a chicken on a June bug. You know what I mean?
I love that analogy. A chicken on a June bug.
Yeah, a chicken on. You never seen a chicken chase a June bug around?
I love that analogy.
Well, down here in the South, when I was growing up, these farmers always had chickens, and they would chase these June bugs around and Japanese beetles around all summer. But anyway, the cheeks. Well, the cheeks may be different here because that's a recreation. Okay. I thought that too, Chester. That's the first thing I thought of was that guy's wearing a wig.
Yeah.
And that's a bad hairdo. Her mouth.
Bottom line in all of this. This child went missing at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Where is he?
If he's not alive, we still should find that.
Where is his remains? Mom dipped out days after he goes missing. There's evidence that people have encountered him years later. Where is he? Whether he is mentally unstable, has mental deficiencies, doesn't matter. He is still a registered missing child who has the longest running Amber Alert in the history of Florida and in the top 5 of the United States. Where is he? That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, that's what's so sad about this whole situation is, and this is what frustrates me with so many cases that I look at or read about or help people on, is that someone in the very early days, usually that knows the person, knows what happened. I mean, I feel the same way in Delphi. I believe that the people in Delphi know more than we know that they know.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same in Summer Wells, Sebastian Rogers, all of these cases that we hear about. Some of them end up going, you know, they find their body, and, you know, and they end up getting some justice if there's such a thing, because once a person's gone, they're gone. But this is just one of those cases that you could flip a coin and you don't know. But did the, Heidi says, did the officer try calling Zachary's phone after Tim died? You know, I don't know. That's a great question. Amy, do you know?
I haven't seen anything like that. I don't think at the time when the individual who encountered Zackary realized who he was encountering. So I think it was a year or so later that this became a real thing. So no, I don't believe that that phone was ever contacted.
Did you find that Tim's last name?
Hold on. I don't think I wrote it down.
Yeah, I didn't either. So, all right. So do you guys think this is a good case for us to get the word out and do all of that and, you know, try to see what we can come up with? Local rumors are much more valuable that cops want to believe because they didn't come up with them. They think that they and they alone have some weird. Yeah, you know, some cops are that way, but not all cops. I mean, there are a lot of homicide detectives out there. Oh, I know, Chester. I've been following Delphi. I've been working with Amy for a long time on Delphi. Behind the scenes. Y'all just haven't heard of me.
I know when I say team case by case, I really mean team case by case.
Yeah. There's a bunch of us working on it, and I've been following Delphi since the night they went missing. And I, you know, this case, I told Amy yesterday or today that every so often I'll say, you know what? I'm just done with Delphi. That's it. I'm done with Delphi. And then I'll read something and go, wait a minute. I don't
can't be done.
Name on
I
it.
can't be fucking done. It can't be done.
I got to fix this. I got to find this. You know, so yeah, it's I've not been on the, You got to keep in mind the cops we're used to. I know, Skinny. We've got them everywhere. In my state, we've got them too. And other states I've lived in, we've got them. But, I got to have some hope that some of these detectives really care a lot about the people.
That alone, in a case like this, in a case like Delphi, and some of the other cases that I've tried to cram down your throat, Trinity.
Some of them that I'm like, nope.
Nope. She's like, girl, go away. Law enforcement is not bad. I used to work for law enforcement, and I know from working on that side of the fence that, people have a huge misinterpretation of good people versus bad people. And then there's corruption, completely a third party entity to the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, that's what sucks about doing this kind of work, because you don't want society to think that all law enforcement is bad, because they're not. They're just absolutely not. But the cases that stand out, it seems to be the norm, that there's some sort of controversy, there's some sort of corruption, there's some sort of underlying self-serving, self-preservation misdoing that affects the case. And I don't know how to decipher the two. In a case like this missing persons case, there is nothing involved in this case that has anything to do with law enforcement being nefarious at all. This is a straight up legitimate missing persons case that could involve a child being abducted or handed off and extorted into a sex trafficking ring that has nothing to do with law enforcement in Florida, Clearwater, the United States, etc. It's how do we get to the bottom of this mystery?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've got law enforcement in my family, and it's always a fun conversation. Okay, you got an attorney and law enforcement, and we argue more than we agree. But I can tell you, they train hard, and they have to be so aware and eyes in the back of their head everywhere they go. And it makes them jaded. Kind of like lawyers get jaded, because we hear so many lies all the time. Nobody ever tells the truth, and nobody's ever guilty. It's the same situation with law enforcement. My family members will say that for whatever reason, people would they will lie and lie and lie and lie to you when you are sitting there looking at a video of them committing the crime. Mm-hmm. Right there committing the crime. There you are stealing that, putting it in your pocket, and you're telling me that is not you stealing.
Right.
So I think a lot of the thing is, number one, they're targeted out there. They're really targeted. And they've got to just have their head on a swivel. And then secondly, no one is honest. And, I agree that there are some people that are not right for the job, but the jurisdictions that I interact with are pretty tough on who they bring in and who they don't. But I don't live in Indiana either. I don't live in Carroll County. I can see, the concern there, because Carroll County is just a messed up. It is a hot mess. It is just.
Is it?
Yeah. And the place where Karen Reed is from. And I lived up in Boston for a while. And I can tell you, most of the cops up there are no nonsense kind of people, and they don't care who committed it. But that group, wow, it's unbelievable.
It is. And I think that a lot of people, this is my opinion only. I'm not speaking for Terry. I'm not speaking for anyone else who supports case by case. This is my opinion only. I think that most people want to believe that law enforcement, political figures all have our best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the time to dig in and you rely on different facets of information, you can be misguided.
Especially the mainstream media.
Exactly.
Who loves to plant division left and right between anything, cops and people. I mean, I don't even know where they get their information sometimes.
Well, I want everyone out there to know that I'm not a cop hater or law enforcement ostracizer.
No, me either.
But I am fully capable of seeing the truth. And the truth is that depending on where you are, depending on the case, and depending on the deep-rooted
ties,
causes, facets, all of the underbelly above, you have to realize that you're dealing with people who are human beings,
mm-hmm.
who are capable of being influenced, are capable of making bad decisions, and just because they wear a badge doesn't make them incapable of being a bad guy. And in certain cases like Delphi and Karen Reed, many others, you have to face the truth, and that is law enforcement is not always squeaky clean. They're not always about the truth. They're not always about justice. And if you don't hold them accountable, if you don't dig in and you don't put up the good fight, you're going to get run ruled, period. You're going to get trampled on. Your civil rights are going to get trampled on. The truth is never going to come out. And I'm not saying that's the case in all cases, but in some of these that have made it to the forefront, where people who have been paying attention come out and say, holy shit, look at this. And people have paid attention. It's shocking.
Mm-hmm. I've never ceased to be amazed at one more thing that I have read on some of these cases. I mean, I just, you know, and you wrote about money, and you wrote that an investigator should have 6 to 8 years of education. I don't know about other places, but here where I am, you have to have a college degree to get any decent job. And it has to be a college degree in like criminal justice to get any decent job with one of the law enforcement. Now, maybe not the very small towns, but the metro areas. But I'm with Amy. I mean, I don't believe that anybody in a whole group of people, not all attorneys, not all law enforcement, not all politicians, not all Democrats, not all Republicans, nobody in any group is all good or all bad.
No, and woman redacted, love you. She says, we never see any consequences, though.
We may not, but sometimes there are, especially for attorneys.
But the thing is that we can't be satisfied with putting the truth out there and it being acknowledged. The consequences come after. The consequences come after the truth coming out and following through.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got people in political power, whether it be a prosecutor, an attorney general, a sheriff,
a judge,
who are a judge, who are all elected officials, if just exposing them is good enough for you, you can't complain about the end result. You have to follow through and see to it that they lose their power. They are taken off their pedestal and they are removed from making decisions on their based on their constituents, period. That's how it works. And you can take a case like the Delphi case and we can put it in the forefront. We can show all the details, all of the wrongdoing, all of the corruption, and wonder why there's so much underbelly to the case that doesn't make sense. But it's all of these smaller cases that no one's paid attention to that feeds into the bigger cesspool of a case like Delphi.
And these smaller cases add up and they do move the needle. And I can tell you from a legal standpoint, a lot of times there is discipline against a judge or an attorney. And unless you really know where to look, you won't see it. You know, they may be disciplined from the bar. They may be disciplined from the judiciary committees. And a lot of times what will happen is they'll step down because they are not given a choice. But that's not what comes out in public. Now, you know, part of that is because we don't really have a lot of true journalists these days. If we did,
no, because
it would have never happened the way it did.
And no, another thing, going back to Woman's Post, look at the qualified immunity for cops, prosecutors, and judges. Exactly. They are, you know, you would think that these individuals who have spent decades of education and schooling, that they would be required to make the right decisions based on the law, not based on a political party, not based on what benefits their community. There should be no such thing as immunity. No one should have immunity.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I don't.
Because I've been in the situation where if you don't have some type of immunity from lawsuits, you're going to be sued every time someone disagrees with anything. And I've seen it happen.
Right, but immunity is normally granted when there's a nefarious or wrongdoing. And if the law is followed, and if you are making the right decisions, immunity should not be something that you would rely on.
Yeah, but that's not, like, for example, where I worked years ago, there was a huge lawsuit. And in that lawsuit, the elected officials were given immunity. But the insurance company that pays for lawsuits, you know, an umbrella policy type of thing, that insurance company said, wait a minute, if they did anything to bring this about, then we're not going to recognize that immunity. So then you're talking about a case against the insurance company, which is what we did. We went against the insurance company to say, hey, this, you can't dictate what this is because there has been no wrongdoing. So my point is, if you don't have immunity, because in the case that I'm talking about, the people that were sued, they didn't have anything to do with it. They were just elected officials. They didn't run the day-to-day of the government area that I'm talking about. None of that. If they would not have had some kind of immunity, they would have all been personally liable. And Skinny's right. It started for the right reasons, but they've taken advantage of it. And that's where the problem is. You know, there should be loopholes in qualified immunity, but they've shored them up. So I think there should be immunity, but it's got to be reworked. It's got to be reworked. Of course, everybody blames it all on the lawyers.
It's all the lawyer's fault.
It's always the lawyer's fault. Everything I hear is the lawyer's fault. Somebody wrote something, though, back there I was wanting to comment on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Chester, why are people so against considering other narratives, so many closed minds? Well, that's just how people have become, especially now that people can hide behind a keyboard. Everybody, not everybody, I say that. A lot of people just want to sow dissension. And they just want to get in there. I mean, I wrote Amy one day and said, I'm taking a break from social media. And let me tell you why. People came out slamming about the Delphi stuff, and there wasn't even anything to argue about. Nothing new had dropped. And you just had one person popping in and out of these groups. And I watched it in several groups, just sowing dissension. And it's because they could get away with it. Because what can you really do?
It's sad.
It is. I mean, everybody should be able to agree that 2 children died or that this guy is missing and we need to know what happened. 2 children were killed. We need to know what happened. And, you know, don't even get me on my soapbox. Amy will say, don't get her started.
Don't do it.
Don't get her started. She won't shut up about it.
It's all
justice is not followed. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
It flies all over me to see things like, you know, like there's a lot of questions in this case. Why did she go start a brand new business? And I'm looking at her house record things, and it doesn't look like she was away from Florida for too long. So was that a false narrative we were given? See, that's aggravating me because I'm looking at hard records.
Right.
And the records are showing that she got married and she's been in Florida for a long time. So did she maybe never leave and we were just given that information? And if that's the case, where did it come from? I didn't hear it from police, so I don't know. Do you remember where we got that from? That she moved right after? Or has it just been in the news?
I mean, the news and law enforcement stated that, right, like within days after her son being reported missing, she dropped out of the limelight.
Well, she may have dropped out of the limelight, but I don't think she left Florida for long. I think she left Florida, but I think she came right back.
Yeah, she wasn't gone for very long, but when she returned, she never stepped foot into the storyline of her son being missing.
Yeah, and it's crazy. What do you tell your new spouse? Okay, that's a conversation I'm thinking about. Okay, so I meet my husband, and what do I say? By the way, just want to let you know, a few years ago, my child went missing. Okay, what are we doing to find him? That's what my husband would say. What are we doing to find him? Let's start a foundation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was my thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys liked this, and hopefully you'll like learning about other cases. Maybe we can get more people to join us because the conversations were good.
Yeah. So it is, we're going to let everybody go. Get back to your, what is today? Tuesday?
I think so. Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday. So we'll let everybody go. Thank you for joining us. Please share the video if you have any information, regardless to when you're listening to this case, this coverage. The number is scrolling across the bottom of the screen for the Clearwater Police Department. There is a ton of information that we've released here today in regards to Zackary Bernhardt's missing case. Zackary could still be out there. We don't know under the circumstances as to why he wouldn't be coming forward, but there's enough information here for you guys to share.
Skinny, I don't know the answer to that about her having other kids. Research that if you have time and get back to us on it. Trial Junkie, same for you. There were some other kids that went missing at that time, right around that time. The one that was found, and then there was one that was almost abducted before that. So, you know, maybe you guys can let us know what you find out.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Case by
Bye.
case. Like and subscribe. See you later. Bye.
Bye.